everyone. The healing power of animals. When I chose this particular topic to speak about, I was very excited to do it actually. I was really looking forward to this particular experience, and I look so much forward to sharing with you guys the amazing healing power of our beloved companions, of our beloved animals. The first thing I want to touch on, and this is really an obvious thing, but for many it's not that obvious, I don't think. The human being, us, the men, the women of this planet, are all born under the term Homo sapien, human being. And in this classification, we fall under the category of a mammal. We are in the same category as cats. We are in the same category as dogs and elephants and zebras and giraffes. The list goes on and on. We are a human animal. We have been given different characteristics. We have been given different appearances. We have been given an enormous amount of gifts, from our intelligent mind to the capacity to alter our path, to modify our life's work, to learn, to expand, to grow in various regions that have been given to us that surpasses any living mammal on Earth. That being said, other mammals, such as I described, and the countless others that inhabit this beautiful place we call home or Earth, sense within us and sense within others as we sense within them this base core animal instinct. And this is really what drives this particular topic. I have had the pleasure of owning dogs since, so let's just call it well over 60 years now. And for my first dog, I delightedly received when I was just a young man around the age of 11 or 12 years old, to the dog I have now, whose name is Danny. I have had dogs all my life, as well as my family. We love dogs and we really appreciate them. I refer to them as my companions, my children. I don't push them on the outside of my life. I don't push them on the outside as though they're some kind of a trinket or some kind of just a plaything to play with from time to time, and rest of the time I shove them in a room or outside by themselves and just forget about them. Not in this home, not in my home. And I hope that's true in your home as well. I have found that over the years that when I don't feel well, if I've had an injury due to athletics, or if I've had a medical condition that has risen due to various forms of things that challenge us as we get older, I notice in my dog, in my boy Danny, that he takes kind of a shift in his personality with me. He seems to approach me a little bit unsure. He's not sure whether or not he should approach to bother me or upset me. He approaches in the beginning almost with a caution, and I can see him as I speak. I can see it in my mind, his nose sticking out, and he's kind of smelling, scenting, pushing towards my body, trying to feel what's wrong, like what's up with Robert here, what the heck's going on with my buddy over here. And sure enough, and oddly enough, without even, obviously he doesn't understand that I have stitches in my leg. He doesn't know that statement, right? But he seems to place his head either on my leg, or he'll scent around where I had a little bit of repair work done, and he'll get very quiet around me. He doesn't pull me into animation. He doesn't start bringing out the balls to play with, or is barking at the front door to go out, or at the back door better, to go outside and run in the yard, which I love doing with him, or going down to the park, which I so love to do. He kind of settles down and settles around me. I can almost hear his breath exhaling out, and before you know it, I'm feeling his tongue licking my leg, or he's licking my hand. And I look at him and I say, Danny, thank you so much, my bud. Thank you, thank you, thank you for taking care of me. And he actually can sense this shift within my being. And oddly enough, when my Danny is not feeling well himself, or if he's just out of sorts, I also feel this with him. I do. I can tell the way he's lowering his breathing. I can tell the way he's getting quiet in his behavior. One of the things, of course, many, probably if you own dogs, you will notice they go outside and they eat grass, or if they're really unsettled, they may just sit underneath a cool tree or underneath a bush. They're not looking to be active. They're not looking to run around. They are signaling the one they love, which is me, my wife, my kids, that something is not quite right. And if it goes on for any length of time, of course, we are in the car right to the vet to make sure everything is where it belongs, you know. So I've always noticed, even since a young boy, that animals have this incredible reflex, this incredible instinct when it comes to another animal. You will see this not only with dog to human, you will see it with dog to dog, you will see it with dog to a goat, you'll see it with a goat to a dog. You will see it with so many various types of beautiful animals that seem to have this sense. And it's not, they don't speak to each other in a conventional tongue. They don't have voices. They don't make sounds the way we do to communicate specifically what is up. But they have absolutely their own way of doing it. Now, throughout time, the human animal has discovered throughout centuries and centuries and centuries of experience, of practice, that animals can bring a healing to another animal. They do it not through cloth and band-aid and elixirs and medicines. They carry a different energy. They have a vibration. They have a neurological tone that they bring. This is not just me saying, this has been proven by science. They actually changed a vibrations within their very being to offer a healing light to another animal who was suffering. The only exception on this often would be if there is no associations between the two breeds or the two instincts. There are animals that are just opposites of each other. They don't have anything really to do with each other, so to speak. But on a base level, most animals will respond to each other, whether it be in the wolf call, whether it be in the subtle whispering of a lion that's very quiet but calling out for someone to come assist him, whether it be the elephant, the beautiful pachyderm, who is calling out with his trunk that his baby calf is in trouble. The animals try to heal each other, and over time, through India and Africa and Australia, our own great Native American plains people, they saw and they witnessed that animals always seem to sense the struggle within the humans. For example, there was a rock band years ago. Some of you may have heard of it. It was called Three Dog Night. I never realized what the meaning of that band was. They had a great song and all that stuff, but this is about healing. And I asked someone finally, a dog person, I said, what is this Three Dog Night business? And they said when it was bitter cold, when men and women were traveling across America and it was a bitter cold night and they were in their tents, they would actually have the animals, excuse me, the dogs lay on top of them, lay in the bed. And it was really, really cold. They would say, oh, this is not a one-night dog. This is not a two-night dog. This is a three-dog night. I need three warm-blooded dogs to lay on my blanket so we don't freeze to death. And it became a very popular term used in explorers of the Great West. They would say it's a three-dog night, and they knew exactly what they meant. And they used the animals even there. There have been works and studies done that when people have been injured, our great Americans, great American heroes, our veterans coming home who have PTSD, they have found that the work of the great doctors and the physicians and the healers who do amazing things, the psychotherapists, all of it are extremely important, of course. But they found just giving a dog to a wounded veteran can alter everything. There is an instinctive openness that takes place. There is no judgment in a dog. There is no judgment in these beautiful animals. They just simply place their head down and they feel. They sense, they expand their sensory system to sense the wound. Not only the physical wound, but most importantly, they feel the emotional wounds, the damage that has been done to another animal, another life form, and they draw to it because they are driven by the same grace that we all have. They sense that they have come from the same source as all of us have, from the one life. And in reaction to that one life, they draw close in. So one of the beautiful animals, of course, is the dog. I want to shift off the dog. I mean, it's my favorite. I love it, canines. But there are others, and I want to discuss them with you. Let's go to our beautiful felines, whether it be the great tiger in the jungle or the house cat that lives in your home. The cats, the felines, have a very different type of energy. In my Zen practice, practicing meditation for quite so many years, the cat, the feline, is considered to be a Zen master. They actually consider a cat, not the dog, they consider the cat to be a Zen master, meaning the cat typically will sit still, it will observe. Often we think it is sleeping when it's not. It always seems to have that one eye open. But what's also noticed is that the cat has a purring. Have you? Those of you that are feline people that have cats, you'll know this. They have a beautiful purr. I mean, a dog has breathing, it does all that stuff, and it's nice, it's beautiful. But a cat has a purr. It's almost like a tone. And what science has found out, which is really Johnny come lately, because humans have known this and tribal groups have known this for centuries, that the vibration of a cat placed on your chest, a cat that you're rubbing in your lap, a cat that's rubbing itself up against your face, a cat that sits on your head while you're in bed with a cold, a cat purrs. And the cat alters its purring, actually, because it senses intimately that something is not in balance, whether it be psychological illness, emotional illness, physical illness. The cat senses it. And if you allow the cat, and if the cat is comfortable with you, you treat the cat as a family member, the cat becomes part of your family, you become part of the cat's family, you are symbiotic, you are sharing your lives together, the cat will sense that its partner, I hate to use that word owner, I don't like to own my dog, I like to share my life with my dog, right? But I guess some people like to call it, I own a cat, and I get it, it's common tongue, I understand, but I think deep down if you really talk to them, they'll say, I use that expression, but I really just love my cats. I mean, cats are just beautiful, beautiful animals. But getting back in the Zen stuff, so the Zen masters would say, look at the cat. If you want to learn how to meditate, watch a cat. Watch how the cat quiets his breathing down. Watch how the cat becomes very still. Watch how the cat's head rotates and notices everything in the room. And yet when it's with its partner, when it's with the woman or the man that it loves or the child that is not well, the cat seems to settle. I'm sure you cat people know what I'm talking about. And they have found accurately, scientifically, that the purring of the cat syncs and coincides with heart rate in the humans. It's unbelievable. They have this healing property that they seem to exude when they sense a shift. Similarly, when the cat is under attack or under stress, it will behave differently. It'll usually seek distance, it will return to a quiet mode, and it will go into stillness. This is one of the great healings that the animal brings. It is amazing. So we're going to leave our dog and cats alone for a minute, and I want to go to the big boys, which are the horses. Now, in part of my work back years ago in my career, I spent a lot of time with special needs children. I spent a lot of time with special needs adults. I have worked with children with paraplegic injuries. I have worked with children that have had various maladies at birth that did not give them a full working physical system. And some of them are really limited to what they can do. Some of them are unfortunately challenged with levels of retardation and processing issues. And the world for them can be very, very confusing and very, very challenging. And many, many years ago, I had the opportunity to witness and lightly participate with the horse ability program and horseback riding for special needs children, horses that are for women and men who have been traumatized by events, by gross death, meaning they lost their whole families in a fire, God forbid, or they watched their military unit be destroyed and they come home with scars that, thank God, most of us will never have to imagine. Thank God. I watched them work with people who have lost the death of a child in grief. And they bring this animal out into a barn or into a corral or a controlled environment. And they just tell the person that's approaching, say, listen, don't do anything yet. Just kind of stand there and just be still and be yourself and relax. Don't approach the horse too quick. Don't try to withdraw from the horse. Just be there. And little by little, a miracle is taking place, and you watch the horse's ears come up, and you could watch its tail move a little bit. You can hear this coming out of its mouth, and slowly but surely, these two souls, the horse soul and the human soul, seem to come close together, and there's the reaching of the hand or the rubbing of the side of this beautiful, majestic animal's face, and before you know it, usually professional trainers, great therapy people, animal therapists who help these handicapped people. Next thing you know, they're swinging their legs up over the top of the horse. They may be paralyzed, they have special harnesses and special mechanisms, and you may see 2 or 3 people supporting the rider on the horse. And this animal is just walking in its corral. But there is this an amazing communication between a brain-damaged child and this beautiful animal, or a fractured Marine who lost his friends in combat, or a Navy woman who watched one of her shipmates drowned, right? Or for the firefighter who could not rescue that child and can't get past it. Despite the therapy of humans, which is huge, despite talk therapy and psychiatric and psychological help and leaning on great people, which is all so important, and faith and all the things that go with trying to help heal, the animals go right to the source. I find it remarkable. They go right to the source. If I come home from a difficult day, or I've been reading people and it's been overwhelmingly painful for them, and people don't realize I take a lot of this home with me sometimes. I deal with some people that really have suffered terrible loss, and I've sat with them for an hour or two, and I go home and I go, oh my God, what happened to these poor folks, with these poor people? And my Danny will come right up and put his head on my lap. I don't have to say anything. I don't have to call him over, nothing. He just walks over and looks at me and says, I know Rob he's hurting right now, and let me kind of hang out with him. And oddly enough, in a few moments, that complete compassion, the absence of any judgment, and he doesn't ask me a question. He's not, what happened, what's up, what's going on? He doesn't ask me anything. The cat doesn't ask anything. The horse doesn't ask anything. All they know is love and healing. And they are driven by this amazing mechanism of love and healing to the owner. Now, I've seen this, oddly enough, with farm animals. I've seen it with roosters. I've seen a big pig, actually bring great comfort to people. I've seen it. I've seen donkeys. I've seen mini donkeys, burros, little small horses, if you like, who serve as allies. They actually run up and the owners embrace them, and the wounded person embraces them. They kiss, they hug. You can see a crane or a swan wrap its neck around a person and hold it close. They have an association, perhaps the owner or the person that shared their life with us. Or the swan, for example, may have nurtured that swan since it was infant. Its mother may have died in an accident. And someone has the compassion to bring that bird in, and the bird becomes a family member, and that bird, or the swan, or the duck, sees that human as its mother. It actually identifies because it can feel the love given from one animal, the human, injecting it, giving it, sharing it openly, freely to the animal. And the animal forms an unspoken bond that is extremely powerful and very pure and very light. Years ago, I was working with children with cerebral palsy, just amazingly beautiful kids. Some of them were very young in their elementary years, and others were in their high school and senior years. They were a little bit more advanced. And I noticed that a lot of them, as they graduated from school and high school and so on, a lot of them went into animal therapy work. And I visited a few of the facilities, and you would see these great kids in wheelchairs with the little electric thing, and they'd be rolling down the hall, and right next to them, they were not only having a guide dog with them, a companion dog, but they were also teaching companion dogs how to be companion dogs to others that were struggling with some other malady. And the awe of it is, usually golden retrievers, Labradors, those kind of animals, they are more historically conditioned for it. They have a different, more specialized genetic makeup. They receive differently. They feel a little differently. Yes, there are certain dogs, and yes, of course, there are certain horses and certain cats that are not as receptive. They sense the human animal piece, and it upsets them, it bothers them. They don't attack necessarily like a predator would attack, but they kind of keep their distance. And those particular breeds are not set up or really designed for therapeutic work or acting as an animal of comfort or an animal of support. You see people on aircraft or see people entering into a railway station or onto a cruise ship or something, and they're bringing their little chihuahua, and it's got a little vest on it, and it's a support animal. And all of this is just awesome. So the healing in animals is not something they have to be taught. In the world of mechanics, do they have to be taught when to stop at a red light and when to go and when to green light and when to pull a sock out of a drawer and drop it on the paralyzed person's lap? I actually saw that recently. I saw a dog actually, the owner would say, go get my laundry. And the dog would go over to a laundry basket and pull out a shirt, pull out a sock, pull out a shirt, pull out a sock, and drop it on the owner's lap. And you could see the owner smile and with limited motion would pat that dog. But that dog never left that owner. It sat there, laid itself down on the floor, and just exuded boom, boom, boom. This protective love for the person they were so desperately attached to. Oddly enough, there's another animal out there that's pretty cool. And those are monkeys and chimpanzees. And there are various forms of the simians. They call them simians, fancy word, for the monkey groups. And you've seen probably on documentaries and stuff on TV where people go into the wild and they have these silverback gorillas. These things are gigantic. And they come up and hug the human. Or you'll see a video of a lion that hasn't seen its original owner in years or its original partner in years, and all of a sudden there's a reunion and you think the lion's about to swallow the person and they're hugging on to each other. Because in the core of that animal senses in the core of the other who took care of them, nurtured them, and gave them a life. They never forgot. And I want to repeat this word again to you guys. They don't judge. They don't have an opinion. The only time they withdraw is if you try to hurt them. And that is just an instinct we all have. You touch the hot stove, you're gonna withdraw. If you hurt an animal, you hit an animal, you strike an animal, you make an animal frightened, you dismiss an animal, it will withdraw from you. They literally become prisoners. And the sorrow of it is, you miss all of the love, all of the awe that these beautiful animals bring. They ask for so little. And they offer their entire lives to people they love. I don't mean to be syrupy about this, but I've had a lot of beautiful dogs in my life, a lot. And every single one of them left a heart tattoo on my soul, little paw prints like this, because my boys, with my children, with my beautiful wife, with my family, even back before I even had these guys in my world, when I was a teenager and going through rough times in college and studying and dealing with dating heartbreak way back as a young guy, all of it. Anytime I had problems, whether it be Luke or Danny Boy, which is the one I have now, or Cleo or Koji or Skippy or Honey, we had a whole bunch of them. They always found a way to give me a paw, lick my face, and touch, you know. I want to go back to the cats for a minute, if you don't mind. You know, I mentioned this part before about the cats being like Zen animals. You know, they are. I want to just share this with you guys. If you've never meditated, if you've never done it, I mean, you may have tried it, which is great. If you have never, that's fine too, right? Um, just sit near a cat and leave it alone. Don't try to play with it. Don't try to call to it. Don't try to engage it. Just let it be. And if you sit with a cat for just a little while, it will change you. They have this extraordinary vibration that can change a life. They really can. Cats are very cool. They really are. I'd have cats, except when one of my kids has an allergy, unfortunately, to cat dandruff. So the dogs are no problem, but for whatever reason, the cats make his eyes run itch. We would have had cats, of course, but a lot of my friends have them, and they are just beautiful. I Not often anymore, but years and years and years ago, you know, we would go to the local zoo. We'd go to the Bronx Zoo, for those of you who know the Bronx Zoo from the New York area. And you'd walk through and you'd see these animals, and you'd stand in front of a lion cage, or you'd see an elephant, or you'd see a giraffe. You know, and these poor animals, not that they're poor, I mean, they're very well taken care of there in most cases, as far as I know. I think the people there are pretty dedicated. As a matter of fact, one of my neighbors, him and his wife, volunteered there for almost 20 years at the Bronx Zoo, and I know how passionate they were about animal care, so I'm sure they reflect the great people of the Bronx Zoo. But anyway, so when people walk up to the cages and they're poking, they're pointing, they're sneezing, they're laughing, and these animals just sit there and watch like we're an amusement to them. They think that they're an amusement to us. I don't think so. I think we amuse them more, and you may see them rise and come forward a little bit, right? Or if you stare them right in the eye, you're giving them a sense of threat, and you're going to make them maybe raise a paw or growl or withdraw. Many animals withdraw before attack. They're not looking to engage you on a challenge basis. They don't want it. They want to feel at ease with you. They want to feel at peace with you. They want to feel that you are sharing this amazing earth with each other. But over time, unfortunately, over history, over time, the human being, sadly, in many cases, has felt superior. They call them just animals. They just dismiss them, and they become victims of cruelty and abuse. And it's heartbreaking to see it. And I know there are a lot of you out there who may be listening to me tonight, I don't know, who are animal rescue people, and thank you so much for it. There are cat rescue people, dog rescue people, horse rescue people. They assure the horse, the cat, the dog, they will not be terminated in some gas chamber. They know that the animals will live out their lives on farms, or a sense of dignity and peace. They will allow them to cross over naturally. And I'll tell you about that too. When one of my boys was shifting, his name was Koji. I'm going to get a little emotional, but he was one of my boys. And I remember we knew he was turning. He was starting to get very quiet. He was laying down a lot. Wasn't drinking out of his water bowl. Our vet said, yeah, he's coming to the end of days. He's 13 years old in dog time. He's up there a bit. He's had a great life. That didn't change a damn thing. You could tell me he had a great life and everything, but my boy was coming to the end of days. And we all gathered around him, around Koji, and my children actually sat around him, and he died right in front of us. He did. And we said prayers, and I actually lit an incense stick, and I put a cross with him because I'm out of the Catholic tradition, and we wept. In retrospect, it was painful as hell. I mean, come on, I think all of you who are listening to this understand that, you know, losing an animal can be heartbreaking. If you are living with an animal, loving the animal, not if it's just some, you know, trinket you put on your wrist and it means very little to you. Unfortunately, there are folks, I guess, like that, but not people I know. And Thank goodness, right? But my point is that Koji was teaching us, me, my wife, my children, without saying it. He was teaching us how to die. He understood his being was coming to its natural close. He knew that we were with him and helping him. He knew that he was in safe hands. He knew. And because of that, he showed us how to slow our breathing down. He showed us the grace of acceptance and surrender. He showed us what it's like to die with dignity around people he loved. And us, we loved him, and we've loved all of them. He was not only healing us at his death, he was healing us when he was alive. He took each moment as it came. That's another thing about these animals I need to speak about. They only live in the present tense. If you were to go to a duck, let's say you have a duck, right? You decide you want a duck. You live by a pond or something and you have ducks, or you have chickens, or you have goats, or lambs, or llamas, whatever the hell you got, right? And you were to ask a llama, or you ask a camel, what time is it? If the animal could speak, they would say, what kind of question is that? It's right now. If you ask that Zen cat, what time is it? The cat would say, it's now. What do you mean, what time is it? Meaning, we alone reference the past and the future. We alone cause the misery of thought that drives us into fear and anxiety and worry. And if you hang out with an animal, if you hang out with one of these magnificent creatures that the Father above us all of us, the one source of life given to all of us, who created these animals as well, has said, these are my children as we are his children. There is no separation. You all have roles to play in bringing light of grace into the souls of each other. You honor each other by loving each other, protecting each other, caring for each other with as much respect and compassion as you can. This is the healing power of animals. They are open to you all the time if you simply open the door to them. Lastly, in many cultures, we have a term called totems, animal spirits. They're Native Americans, the Amazon people, the Australian Bushmen, the Japanese warriors and the mountain warriors called Yamabushis. They all speak of animal spirits, whether it be the buffalo, the jaguar, the toucan, the vulture, the great eagle. They all sense that the animal not only has a healing property, which they adorn on their headdress, what they wear around their neck, reflecting the healing properties of the animals. They turn them into omelets and so on. These cultures have, for time immemorial, when humans first touched the earth, they sense that these animals, not only in cooperation with them, but they brought a very powerful medicine of the soul into their lives. And they honored them, in some cases, uniquely, like, for example, the jaguar totem, right, of the South American Mayans and so on, or the Native American eagle totem, or the bear, or the wolf, right? They honor them, they revere them, they sing songs to them, they bang drums for them, they praise them, they blow the flute for the eagle. It is their way of honoring the healing light that these animals bring, and there's an offering given to these beautiful animals to say thank you. We recognize your place under the sun, under the moon, under the stars. You are as sacred as we are. We honor your life. And in the cases they had to kill the animals, if they had to shoot the animals, if they had to take the animals down for food and substance, they honored them. They didn't just see them as convenient death to eat. The animals around us, from the little bird in the tree to the hamster, to the great buffalo, to the bison, to the tiger, to the lion, to the giraffe, and so on. We are them, and they are us. That is the magic of life given to all of us. And I want to just say before we finish this up, this is one of my favorite topics. And I hope, my friends, I hope sincerely that you paid attention to this. So if you have a cat, you have a dog, you have a horse, you have a bird, you have a lizard, right, which is a reptile, not an animal, but we're keeping it right there. If you have a snake, right, whatever it might be, open up your heart to them. Let them sense you, let them trust you, let them feel you, and they in turn will reward you in amazing ways. And when you are deep in sorrow, when you are deep in fear, when you are full of love, welcome them in. Let them celebrate it with you. Don't let them be shoved away into a corner someplace like an intrusion. They are your family. And if they're not the family under your roof, they are the animal family that the God above us all gave to each of us to love, protect, and share. Thank you all for joining me.